Alright, so I got this 6L90 on the bench, two-wheel drive. This is out of a 2008 Chevy Silverado 2500 6-liter motor. Guy was complaining it was slip-in, wasn't running right, so he brought it in. And when I scanned it, it's got a bunch of pressure control solenoids, like maybe 2, 3, and 4 pressure control solenoids. They were either stuck on, stuck off, which usually is a mechanical or hydraulic problem. Also had a pressure switch code, so I want to separate the tehcm from the valve body and see how the pressure switches are. And the tehcm, which is the computer, consists of solenoids, pressure switches, and the computer itself. The tehcm is the transmission electronic hydraulic control module. So we want to inspect that and see if that's good. This is your MLP right here, or range sensor. So it looks like at one point they may have serviced this unit because they have the absolute wrong gasket on this thing. And here is the filter. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the valve body off, and then we're going to separate the tehcm from the valve body and kind of see what's going on with the pressure switches there. I have a teardown video on this already, but maybe we'll just tear it down together. So I got the pan and filter off already. Before this valve body can come off, the first thing we got to do is this little lever right here. We got to lift up on it, and that's going to get this sleeve out. Let me just turn this up. This sleeve here is going to come out. Okay, kind of like the 6HP26 almost. All right, so that's that. Now we'll flip this back over. And to get the valve body and computer out from the case, we actually only have 6 bolts that are holding it on. And to get those out, we need a special socket. This is like an inverted Torx Plus. So we're going to take the 6 bolts out. Alright, that's 2. We got one over here. We got one over here. Pretty long bolts. And we got 2 more right here. Okay, so we should be able to lift this right out now. All right, let's move this out of the way. Alright, so what we want to do again is we want to, I like to take this off and kind of check out the pressure switches. May or may not have to replace it. If it does have to be replaced, me personally, I would only get them from the dealer and I just program it myself. I know my supplier, I think now carries these. I believe it's a Dorman product. And my supplier's Transtar. And I think if you give them the information, the VIN number and stuff, I think it comes pre-programmed and it gets shipped right out of Dorman, right to your place. But on certain products, I haven't heard any bad things, of any of them coming back, but certain Dorman products I wouldn't use. Let me just grab a little screwdriver here. All right, so we got to take this we're going to unplug this rain sensor, so we're going to slide this over to unlock it. Okay, so this just slid right over. And now we're going to unplug that. Okay. Now let's turn this over here. And I would like to unplug it from here. This is the speed sensor. I'm trying to do this so everybody can see. You know, let me just move it down a little bit. Okay. Okay, so let's unplug this sensor here. Ready? Okay, that's unplugged. Now we can separate this. So we have a bunch of different size bolts holding this thing on. I wonder if I can put it up here. That would work. Okay, so we got a bunch of 7mm, 10mm bolts, and probably 8mm. So we're going to start taking that off. Right, that with the 7s. Now we're going to do, now let me do the 2 on the side here, which are 8mm. And then we're going to get the ones that are the 10. All right, there's one left. This should pop right off. Move this out of the way. Now what I want to do is just kind of clean these up. So just give me a second and I will be right back. Alright guys, what I got is I have the tool to fix the laminates on the pressure switches, to I guess basically rebuild the pressure switches. And this tool works on the 6L series transmissions, the 6L50, 6L80 and 90, and it works on the 6T series, which is the 6T70, 6T75 generation 1. So what we're going to do is going to go through the process and actually rebuild one of these pressure switches. This one in particular is no good. So I figured, you know what, let's buy the tool. I just got it yesterday, so we're going to give it a shot and see how it goes. So just to go over the tools with you, this is the laminate installer. You tuck this in under the lip, and you know you got to go around to tuck the whole thing in 360 degrees. This is the seal installer, and this is the piston. So this is going to go inside here and actually push the seal in place. And this is the plunger, So what happens is we put the seal on the edge and we got to push this thing all the way in until it bottoms out. So those are the tools. Okay, these are the rubber pieces, and the laminate discs are inside the envelope. All right, so the first thing we want to do before we go ahead and rebuild these pressure switches, we have to electrically check them to make sure they're good, because of course it doesn't pay to rebuild them if they're not good. So I already had taken this off. This would go here, the screens. All right, so I actually lifted this off so everything is exposed here, so we can check it with our voltmeter here and here. So what I want to do is just change the angle and get up closer so I can point to the one wire that is the ground, and then the other four are the power for the 4 switches. So I just want to see if I can get up nice and close so you guys can see that, and then we'll check these out. All right, so let me just switch angles here. Give me 1 sec. All right, so we're close now on this tehcm, and if you can see, the pins are exposed. The pins are here. We got 1, 2, 3, and then we have 1, 2 on this side. Okay, so this end one, all the way on the end here, is the ground for the pressure switches. And then, like for instance, this pin here would be the power for this one. And then this one, I believe, is this, and so on. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 pins for the power and 1 for the ground. All right, so we want to ohm them out. We can also, I'm actually able to rest the negative one in there so I can use both my hands to go with the positive, and then I can take like a pencil eraser and press to make sure the continuity gets broken. You know, that's another way to check them. So we'll do it a few different ways. We'll ohm them out, and we'll do it a few different ways. So let me switch angles once again, and we'll get going with the voltmeter. Make sure everything is electrically good, and then we'll continue rebuilding the pressure switch. All right, so I got my voltmeter set on ohms, and we're going to go each one, touch each one, and make sure we have a reading. So let's start with this one on the end. Oh, wait a minute, let me just hold it steady. All right, we got 0.3, got 0.3, 0.4, and 0.2. Okay, this end one actually here, I rebuilt that one yesterday just to kind of experiment when I got the tool, but the others are bad as well. Now when you read the paper, Sonnax, it says they're looking for approximately 0.5 to 10 ohms each one. I did have a pressure switch code because I believe it's the laminates, so we're going to go ahead and do this anyway, even though it was below a 0.5 reading. I believe electrically they're okay. And another thing we can do, which I like to check the integrity of maybe the piston, you know, underneath the laminate, is I'm going to put this on tone. All right, now I have a pencil eraser. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to touch the end one, and we're going to hear the tone, then I'm going to push down, and it should break the tone. Okay, so we have tone, and now it goes to open OL. All right, let's try this one. All right, and then we'll just do this one here. Okay, so that's another way I feel that you can check it as well. You know, electrically it seems like it's working okay. So let me switch angles on this camera because I got to be in front now, and we're going to get the old rubber out, we're going to get the laminate out, we got to blow it out with some light air, and then rebuild the switch. All right, so give me 1 sec, and I'm going to switch angles. Okay, all right, so we can get rid of our voltmeter. And now we're going to work on, I guess we'll do this one and rebuild that switch. All right, so the first thing we got to do, of course, is pull this rubber out. So I got a small screwdriver, and we'll see if we can just get this thing out. Okay, so that's out. And now we got to take the laminate out. Okay, the laminate disc actually is broken. All right, if you can see that. See, the disc actually is broken. Okay, now we're going to take the piston out. There it is, whoops, okay. All right, here's the piston. And now what we're going to do is just blow light air in there. Just to clean it out, don't go crazy. Now let me just get set up with the new stuff, and we'll rebuild the switch. All right, so the first thing we got to do is we got to put this piston back in. Okay, so we're going to put that back right in the center. All right, that looks good. And now we're going to put the laminate in. And what we have to do here is hold this thing like in an upside down U. And you really got to hold this thing in, because when I rebuilt this one, and I was going around with the tool, the thing, you know, goes back to shape and it flies out, and I still haven't found it. So I'm going to have to, I don't know how much the camera's going to be blocked, but I'm going to have to kind of hold it in place. So we got to get it down in the groove there. Okay, then we take the laminate tool, installer, and we go underneath the groove, and then we go around. All right, even go back the other way. And just keep going back and forth until it's completely seated. Okay, so that is completely seated now, because now I'm going around 360 degrees. And we'll stick it back in the groove and go back the other way. Okay, there we go, a little lip. Now we got it. All right, so this is only the second one I'm doing, so I'm sure I can still use a little practice. Okay, so that looks good. The piston, I can see through the laminate. The piston looks like it's in place. Okay. All right, that laminate's in there real nice. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to coat the rubber in transmission oil. All around. And we're going to put it into the installer. Okay, so I got the piston in here already. I'm going to put it in the installer. All right, so it's like that right now. All right, the end is sticking out. I actually have to put this in the top of the vise, because, and then you got to push it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get set up for that so you can actually see how this thing gets pushed down. You know, there's a Sonnax video and the guy's holding it by hand, but I can't do that, so it's easier for me to use a little help. Actually, maybe I can move the camera back and do it right on the bench. I actually can. Okay, so let me just move the camera back a little and we'll do it right on the bench. All right, so I got this in the bench here. Got the piston in. And let's see if we can push this down. Okay. So we got this thing. As you can see, none of the seal is sticking out. All right, so we're going to take the plunger out. The seal is in there. Okay, now let me just reposition the camera over the tehcm, and we'll see if we can push that seal in. All right, so here we are back, and now we got the laminate in place. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this pretty much straight in. All right, and then we're going to push the piston down until that bottoms out, and hopefully the seal will go in good. Okay, so that bottomed out. Now let's take this out. Okay, actually it doesn't look too bad. I'm going to push down a little. It actually went in very nicely. I don't see any edges sticking out, but what I like to do, just to make sure everything is good, kind of just give it a push. Yeah, no, that one came out nice. All right, so just to make sure that everything is good and it's working, what I'll do is hook the voltmeter back up, and we'll make sure we got a reading, which I'm sure we will, but then I want to check it again with the pencil eraser, make sure the continuity, you know, breaks when you push down. So let me just get set up with that, and that'll be really the final test for rebuilding the pressure switches. I got to do the other two, but I'm actually waiting for a refill kit to come in. So just give me 1 sec. We're going to set the voltmeter back up. All right, so I got it set up, and let's just double check that pressure switch. All right, so we do have a reading. So now I'm going to put it on tone, and I guess I'll come around to the other side, and let's just make sure that it's working. All right, we have a tone. Wait a minute, let me just all right, that looks like it's working pretty good. So we can get rid of our voltmeter again. All right, and that is the process of rebuilding the tehcm. The pressure switch is on the tehcm, and again, the tool I got from Sonnax, and it works on the 6L series, you know, 6L 50, 80, and 90, and it works on the 6T 70, 6T 75 generation 1, rebuilding the pressure switches on the tehcms. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and have a great day.